So I used to be terrible at speaking to people, right? I remember situations in which somebody could ask me like the simplest, the most straightforward question. Yet I would still feel like there was a gun pointed to my head, right? I would immediately get like very pressured and I would mumble over my words all the time. And I was never actually able to hold a proper conversation. People would always find me uninteresting, right? So this is something I'm pretty sure a lot of guys can relate to, right? We're just not particularly good at talking to people, right? And I can relate to this too, right? This is something that I used to struggle myself. And recently, I've learned a trait which actually makes holding conversations like 10 times easier. Literally fucking 10 times, as long as you're able to master this one little trait. I promise you that even if you struggle with forming sentences properly, even if you mumble over every sentence you make, right? I promise you, this one trait that we're gonna learn today can make a fucking drastic difference. People who just want to talk to you. This is the point that I'm trying to make. Mastering this one skill literally is like a fucking 180, even if you're still gonna mumble over what you're saying. The trait? Very simple. Very simple. And let's just get fucking straight to it right now. The one thing that I want you to learn today is learn how to make the conversation about the other person. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, let me explain to you something which actually gives you a whole different perspective on how people think. 95% of the time, I don't remember what the percentage is, but 90 something, let's assume 95, right? 95% of the time, people are thinking about themselves. When you're daydreaming, when you get those like random moments throughout your day when you feel like you're fucking asleep, right? When somebody like fucking asks you, yo, you good? And you're like, yeah. In those periods, right, when we're daydreaming, 95% of the time, we're daydreaming about ourselves. We're daydreaming about ourselves, what we're going to do, what we like to do. And if we're not thinking about ourselves, most of the time we're thinking about the other person that is related to what we want to do, right? So we will be thinking about the other person that we want to spend time with. We will be thinking about the other person which we want to learn from, right? I know this sounds a little bit toxic, but I'm pretty sure you can get some sense out of that, right? Most of the time, we're pretty egocentric when it comes down to the way we think. And this is a trait that you often see in very like boring and straightforward conversations. The way they look is people are not actually listening to each other. Oh boy, how do I say this? I'm squeaking a lot today, so I hope you can take care of that. Essentially, most of the time when people are holding conversations, they're not actually listening to each other. They're not engaged into what they're talking about. I'm pretty sure that by the example I'm going to give you right now, this is something that as soon as you listen, as soon as you know what that thing is and you get familiar with it, you will be unable to unsee it in most conversations. The way most conversations look, my friend, is one person is saying one thing, right? He's telling a story of how, I don't fucking know, a girl cheated on him 2 years ago. He's telling some random story which we don't need to get into, right? He's speaking. And as soon as he's done, guess what this other guy does? He's not gonna ask anything about what the other guy said. It's almost as if he didn't hear what he was saying in the first place. So as soon as this guy is done, he's gonna start speaking his own story of how he got like his heart broken 5 years ago. And guess what this guy does? The exact same fucking thing. They're just exchanging random fucking facts. They're not actually listening to each other. They're not genuinely engaged into what they're all talking about. It's not like even a conversation at this point. It's just an exchange of stories because both of the people are not actually getting anything out of it. They're just randomly fucking yapping. So if you, my friend, yes, if you could be the one guy who, instead of just like blindly fucking repeating what that person's saying, if you could just fucking grab the things that he's talking about, if you could actually focus on the conversation about this guy, right? Whilst he's yapping shit, you ask him questions about the story. You genuinely fucking listen. You compliment him. You praise him for the things that he had done for his story. I promise you, people are gonna be people are gonna love to talk to you because it feels like they can let all of that shit that's in their heads out on you. And the best part, you don't even have to do much. All you have to do is just tone your ego down a little bit and listen. Listen to what the other person has to say. Don't just randomly fucking yap about what you want to talk about. Make the conversation about them. Make the conversation about them, and not only are you gonna save yourself a shit ton of effort, it's just gonna be easier to manage it, right? Because when somebody's speaking to you, some random story, right? Let's use the same story we used a few minutes ago, right? With the girlfriend he cheated on 2 years ago. I just came up with that on spot, but anyway, he's telling the story of how he got cheated on, right? What could you do in this situation? What kind of questions could you particularly ask him? Maybe how did they break up? Maybe how do you react after the breakup? Maybe something this and this. Maybe in that particular story he said something that impressed you, so you praise him for that. Oh yeah, I actually really respect that you did this and this. If you didn't do that, you would be a fucking bitch. You get where we're going with this, right? You get the general idea. When you show to people that you're genuinely interested in what you're talking about, they're just gonna talk about it more, and it literally feels like they can relieve all of this shit that's in their heads onto you. And all you have to do is be engaged in what they're talking about. You don't even have to say anything from yourself. All you have to do is give that man a little bit of appreciation, right? By asking him more questions and compliments. Compliments especially. Okay, asking questions is very important too, but compliments in particular, this is a skill that you can take with you fucking anywhere, because giving compliments, it's kind of like a skill, right? It's kind of like a skill because there's situations in which you don't want to compliment people. You know this, right? Sometimes when, after your dad like screams at you for like a few minutes straight and you see something about him that you kind of like, it's not as easy to compliment him, right? Or when you see somebody or at the bus, right? You see somebody at the bus, for example, and he has a nice fucking pair of sneakers, but you never talked to that guy before. It's not as easy to compliment him as the same guy you see at school every day. It's not the same, right? It's not the same. So it's kind of like a skill because you need to learn how to put yourself outside of your comfort zone. It's kind of like cold approaching, right? It's a part of cold approaching, really. But if you're able to learn how to compliment people without like any like major thing, and as long as you're able to look at somebody and you can easily come up with something to compliment him for, you're fucking set. You're fucking set. This is the same thing we talked about earlier, right? People love to talk about themselves. When you see a guy with a very, very expensive pair of Jordans, you already know that as soon as he puts those bad boys on, that's the only thing he's thinking about. This is a little bit hypocritical of me, right? Because I also have a pretty big sneaker collection. But anyway, when I wear my pair of Jordan 4s and somebody walks up to me and tells me, yo, that's a sick pair of Jordan 4s, my ego goes through the roof. Like my overall mood increases like fucking crazy, right? Because I know that I've got a little bit of social validation. Why not be the guy who gives out the social validation to other people? Why not be the guy who, as soon as you see something that's interesting about another person, you compliment him for it? Listen, I'm gonna tell you another story, matter of fact. Recently, I was on the basketball court and I've seen a guy who was pretty good looking, right? He had a very nice physique. So when I asked him about it, I literally walked up to him and I said, yo, bro, you look pretty big, How long have you been lifting for? Turns out, he's only been lifting for like 1 or 2 months. Yet he was just wearing like a black white beater, which like enhanced his V-taper. And I already told him like, yeah, bro, you got a pretty good physique, And his mood went through the fucking roof. We ended up like exchanging our fucking Messenger or Facebook accounts, and we play basketball pretty often now. It all started with just one compliment. It's because I made him feel better. Oftentimes, you're not even aware of it. We're not even conscious of how bad somebody's day could be. Most people, they wake up and they could have a shitty day, right? They could have a fucking terrible day. They woke up feeling all groggy and shit, They go to school and they maybe have like an exam they don't want to write. All it can take for you to improve their mood is to just give one genuine compliment. And you can literally see on their face how their mood just fucking changes. You can literally see it in their fucking eyes. When as soon as they're stopped talking to you, right? They walk out and you can see a fucking giggle on their face. They're laughing like they were a fucking kid because you made them feel better. It's so fucking simple to do this, my friend. Yet most people don't have the balls to do it. Most people, they have fucking walnuts instead of fucking balls. They're scared to do that shit. They're scared to take a little leap outside their comfort zone. But if you could be that guy who does all of the things we talked about today, your social life is going to be 10 times easier for you. I promise. Also, by the way, if you're curious where I've learned all this shit, this is the book that I've been reading. Of course, this isn't sponsored, you fucking bozo. I'm not even monetized on YouTube, so what the fuck are you thinking about? Yeah, if you ended up learning something valuable today and you want to talk to me directly whilst hanging around an amazing community of like-minded people who are all on self-improvement. And we all strive to live the best fucking version of ourselves possible. We all strive to live the best fucking life we can, right? And while surrounding yourself with a community that has the same goal, you're gonna grow 10 times fucking faster. We host voice calls very fucking often, right? So if you want to hop into one, feel free, feel free. Of course, Discord is fucking free. You don't have to pay for anything. I don't even sell a product yet, okay? I'm just trying to help you out. So yeah, if not, you can like, comment, so do whatever you think is right. Honestly, I don't like to be that type of guy who like throws his little fucking algorithm into your face. That's very needy, isn't it? I'm not the type of guy. Do whatever you think is right, honestly, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one, brother. Take care.